real quickly how the day is going to look. We are getting a little bit of a late start, but that's okay because we actually had a presenter drop out at the last minute, so that's going to work out fine. We're going to start off. Joe's going to talk to us a little bit about, to kind of give us a manager's minute. Then he's going to turn the time over to Jonathan Campbell, our vice president, over Campbell companies and over also just the alliance companies that are part of Campbell. Jonathan's going to talk to us for about 35 minutes on some cool industry and market technologies, kind of the direction of some economical factors and different things that has to do with our industry. After that, we will have actually online a presentation from Trimble about some of the latest Trimble products. And that'll be about a 50-minute presentation, after which we'll go ahead and have a break. And so buckle up. That's about the time frame that we're going to have until the next break, which is going to be approximately about 10:30 or so. Sound okay to everybody? All right. If there's not any questions, Joe, now you are officially up.
Thank you. Yeah, I haven't had the opportunity to meet most of you, so I wanted to take a minute and introduce myself. Again, Joe Lewis, I'm the VP of Technology for Campbell Companies. And what that represents is within Wheeler Tech, we have a group that covers MineStar, the MineStar suite portfolio. We also have Intermountain Mining Technology, which is the non-Caterpillar mining products, primarily responsible for wireless networking, Radiant radios, solar trailers, etc. And then we have SITECH Intermountain, which is the Trimble dealer in Utah on the construction side for machine grade control, construction site setup, etc. And then last but not least, Monsen Engineering. So again, just wanted to introduce myself. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules. Thank you for your partnership. And we hope we have a really productive day today. So having said that, up next, my boss, Executive Vice President for Campbell Companies, Jonathan Campbell.
Let's see.
Right. So I'm hoping this presentation works. Finished it this morning with a sick 1-year-old on my lap at about 4 a.m. So we'll hope all these links work. So what I want to do is give you a little overview of Campbell Companies. Slow your mouse, Troy.
Oh, thank you.
What our objectives are, why we do what we do, and how we support you. And then go through, like Troy says, some of the economic scenarios that we're looking at and some of the technology that factors into how we can help mitigate those, or what we can do to help our businesses. One caveat, I am the least tech savvy person in the room by far. I can't even set up my printer at home. My wife makes fun of me for that. So you are all a whole lot smarter than I am. So let's start with Campbell Company. So we acquired Monsen back in 2018. So we've had the SITECH dealership for a really long time. We first became a Trimble dealer back in 2004. And then when Monsen came available in 2018, we made that acquisition, and it's been a really good partnership to pair SITECH and Monsen together. There's a lot of synergies there. There's some commonality there between customers from a service standpoint. Has made a lot of sense as a lot of the hardware is very similar. But when we set up Campbell Companies, we formed the holding company in 2020. We had a bunch of different companies doing very complementary things, but we needed to put a holding company together. So we set up Campbell Companies. And as we did that, we said, okay, well, what's our purpose? Why do we exist? And we said, really what we do is we support the ones who build our world. And what that means is, I think the simplest way to put that is if we shut down for a week or so, the state of Utah, the state of Nevada would feel that. If the mines weren't running, if the roads weren't able to be built or repaired, if people couldn't dig basements, if they couldn't do snow removal. There's a lot of areas that we play in. We provide power plants and help customers mine coal and use solar panels and generate power in all sorts of different ways. The world would feel that a bit. And so our job is to make sure that we're here to support the people who build our world. And that includes you. You guys play a huge part in that. A lot of times you're on the front end of the construction and the mining that happens. But as we look at this, we said we need to move beyond just the Caterpillar tractor into the full spectrum of what our customers do. So that's what we do. Our vision, where we want to go, is our objective is to be the best equipment and technology distributor service supplier in North America. And that's a tall task, but we absolutely want to be the best. And it sets the bar high. It doesn't let us kind of sleep on the job. It doesn't let us take a day off. We want to be the best, and we believe that we can. We provide a safe, productive, and fulfilling work environment for our employees. We firmly believe that our employees are the reason why we have any success whatsoever. It's the people who support you that make this work. It's not me, not any of the other owners. It's our employees that do that. Then we're a trusted partner of our customers and consistently exceed their expectations. We want you to trust us with your business. You do. The fact that you're here today, spending time with us, means that you get some value out of this. And we don't take that lightly. You spend a whole day with us, you better get something in return. We value that and we appreciate that. And then we're committed to stability and effective strategic growth. That means that we're going to be here in 5 years, in 10 years, 20 years, supporting you in what you do. And our mission, what we do is we provide superior products and services along with exceptional customer service that makes us our customers' preferred and most profitable option. So let me ask you this. Who here makes a dime off of owning an SX12? Who's gotten paid for owning it? I don't think anyone has. I don't think we have a single customer who's gotten paid for owning a Cat excavator or a Metso crusher. No one has ever gotten paid for owning it. It's based on what they do. So customer calls Wheeler for a Cat excavator. What are they calling for? Or for a part, or for field service? What are they calling for? A lot of times the answer I get on that is, oh, they want good service. They want a great machine. No, it's not that at all. They need a hole in the ground. That is it. They get paid for putting a hole in the ground. You get paid for doing scans, for putting survey points out there. That's what you get paid to do. At the end of the day, our customers need a solution. And your customers need a solution. And whoever can provide that solution the best possible way is going to get the business. And so we better make sure that we are your best option, just like you need to make sure that you are your customer's best option. So that is our objective. And today we're going to talk about some of the solutions that can help us do that. But that is what we want to do. We want to be so good at what we do that you don't want to go anywhere else, that you can't afford to go anywhere else, because you get so much value from what we do for you. That is our goal. Okay. And our values, this is who we are. It's our people, our service, integrity, and stewardship. Those are the 4 things that we care about most. People, they're our foundation, our future. Like I said, without our people, nothing works. Our service, we service our customers, our community, and our employees. We take that very, very seriously. And our integrity, we never compromise honesty. We will never do the wrong thing. If that doesn't mean we won't make mistakes, but we will always make it right. And then stewardship is living up to our customers and employees' trust. Making sure that we do the right thing by you and by our employees, and that 30 years from now, this is better. The community, the world is a better place because we were here. So as Campbell Companies, that is what we do. That is what we are working for. We're not perfect. We've made a lot of good strides, and we will continue to do that. As far as how we go to market, we have a couple of verticals, and a couple of companies play in multiple verticals. So we have construction. So we have Wheeler, which is a Cat dealership, ICM, which is primarily our non-Cat equipment distribution. So that's rock crushers, concrete pavers, and they go beyond our Cat territory. So they're in 5 states now, in Utah, Arizona, Nevada, Idaho, and Wyoming. Diamond Rental, which those in Salt Lake probably know, or along the Wasatch Front. We have Heritage Industries, which builds service trucks. Solutions Financial, which is equipment financing. Monsen, obviously, and SITECH. In the mining side, Wheeler's there, ICM's there, Solutions Financial is there, Monsen's there, and Intermountain Mining Technology. And then on the energy side, we have Wheeler. We have Gardner Energy, which does renewable energy, and Reliable, which does uninterruptible power supply. So they do a lot of work with data warehouses, hospitals, things like that. And then as we look to the future, you know, we look at this saying, okay, well, what do we need to do to make sure that we're here in 30 years? And, you know, the business is going to be very different. We need to be making investments along the way. And so these are venture capital investments that we've made to help us go in the right directions, but also to try and help steer the industry or help our customers go in the right direction over time as well. And we'll talk about a few of those. But that's who we are. That's who Campbell Company is. And it's a evolving process and will continue to be evolving, but it's a whole lot of fun. Okay, so let's talk about economy and technology. If there are any questions along the way, please ask. So those of you who are online, feel free to throw a chat in there and Emily can let me know. So I will throw out a caveat. I'm not an economist, like just a little nerdy. Okay. So let's start by talking about where the economy is right now. So this is a snapshot of US GDP the last couple of years. And you can see, you know, the impact from COVID and how the economy just blew up, just really took off. We've had phenomenal growth in the red box, and then we started to see it wind down a little bit in the yellow box. And kind of what's interesting there is there are companies that had a great run up in the red box, that red box time frame. That's, you know, think of Zoom, think of Peloton. Who's followed Peloton stock? Anyone? So they IPO'd around 27 bucks. It jumped up to 96. Mid-COVID, they jumped up to mid 150s. Yesterday, they were at 11. So they've been on quite a ride.
Microsoft Teams.
Yeah, Zoom, Skype. Well, Skype's part of Microsoft, but you know, a lot of those companies, you know, everyone that benefited from the work from home, they just took off. And then they started to come back down.
He thinks you're asking a question.
Sorry, I was trying to get the owl to look at us, Jonathan. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. If you have a question, Troy, just let me know.
Oh, it worked.
Yeah, good job.
At the same time, there were a lot of the kind of the core industrial companies that took a dip and then they've come back. And these companies that really took off during COVID have started to come back down. So Caterpillar, when COVID first hit, their stock dropped down to about the 80s. Now they're at about 240. So it's kind of, you've had this inverted curve or this inverted market reaction. And so we're going into kind of a really interesting period with the economy. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. A lot of people don't know, but there's a lot of different things happening. So one of the main things to think about is we're in a period where there's going to be opportunities for disruption. And the people the people and companies who survive disruption are the ones who focus on solutions, not products, like I talked about. The people who say, you know, I care about what the customer needs, not what I want them to buy. That's who's going to survive disruption. That's why certain companies have made it as long as they have. That's why other companies kind of fizzle out, fade, and go away. So ones who focus on the solutions and are willing to evolve their whatever product or service they have to meet that solution that are going to survive. So let me ask this. This company started in 1997. So started e-commerce in 1997. It launched its appliance sales site in 1999. First online retail exchange in 2000. Strategic alliance with AOL in 2000. Started selling outdoor equipment online in 2000. And computer and office equipment online in July in 2000. Who is this?
Amazon.
Amazon? Amazon? Is that the consensus? Raise your hand if you think it's Amazon.
I think Amazon started books though, right?
Okay.
Sears. Wow. I think there's play button right down there if you can.
We don't have any audio.
Oh,
No, no. No audio?
when you share the video, I think you have to say share it with audio.
Oh, I need my.
Oh, here you go. Okay, sit tight.
Click the little more button.
I have to reshare, yeah.
Yeah, see that little button? Click, including computer sound. There you go. Now try it.
The group of lenders to
Okay,
secure around
go back
half
to
$500 million to keep it afloat a while longer at least. Sears filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection this morning. The company has been around for 132 years and has been unable to pay a $134 million debt that was due today. Sears will close around 200 stores by the end of the year. The retail giant is working with a group of lenders to secure around $500 million to keep it afloat a while longer, at least through the holidays.
Okay, anyone get Sears? Who knew that Sears was first to market on all those products? Not many people. Yeah, they beat Amazon to market. But what happened? They didn't evolve. They may have been early on a couple things. They could have survived, but they didn't evolve. They sat back and thought they had it figured out. At the same time, let's see, hit next. Okay, so this is from 1997. Oh, let's see. Or hit the, let's see. That one.
It might have to, you can go all the way back to the beginning.
Let's see.
Can you take it out of presentation mode?
Maybe, yeah, let's see, hit escape.
So I'm not sure if we stop sharing here again or.
All right, it's okay. Okay, I'll just give you the quick synopsis of this. This is back in 1997. It's a 60 minutes interview. And they talk about how Amazon never made a dime at this point. And how, and that they end the interview. Well, okay, so what they say is that to justify its stock price, Amazon would have to sell every book being sold in the world at that time to justify their market cap. And it ends with the 60 minutes interviewer saying, so Amazon's going to take down Sears. Really? It's pretty funny. Pretty funny to see those two in context. Now, what was the difference between Amazon and Sears and their e-commerce strategy?
Physical stores online.
I don't know, there was a physical stores that was the detriment to it.
Distribution?
No.
Yeah, just to replace like shipping companies.
But how did Amazon do that? What allowed Amazon to replace all those companies? It was their platform. They built their platform on books. Were books Amazon's final goal? No. If you look at why Bezos named it Amazon, it was named after the Amazon River. He wanted it to be this behemoth of products that were flowing out to customers. That's why I named it Amazon. They just used books to build the platform. Then once they had the platform, they had the service, they had the solution. Then you tack whatever else you want on it. Makes it really, really easy. So now you can buy anything you want on Amazon. It's to the point where Amazon is starting to replace Google in some senses as a search engine. Who here goes on Amazon to search for a product rather than going on Google to say, where can I buy this? Just go to Amazon and type that in. I do it all the time. So Amazon, or, Sears had the upper hand on this and Amazon beat them. So when was the last time someone here went into a Sears? You can't. I don't think there's one in Utah. I don't think there's one in Nevada. This is 2018. And it shows some down in Vegas. I don't know if they're still there anymore. So yeah, that's what happens when you don't evolve, when you don't adapt. Okay, let's look at Ford and Lyft. Talking about solutions again. So what questions do they ask to their customers? It looks like you need to get from point A to point B. What are the answers? What does Ford say? They say, it looks like you need to get from point A to point B, want to buy a car. And Uber and Lyft say, it looks like you need to get from point A to point B, want to ride? Now, Uber and Lyft don't work in every scenario, but they work in a lot. So it's interesting in 2019, market cap of Uber was $64 billion with revenue of 14 billion, where revenue of Ford was 155 billion and market cap of 26. Kind of interesting to look at that. I'm not sure what they are today, but kind of interesting to see how they answered the same question differently. But then look what Ford did. Said, well, if that's the solution, let's partner with Lyft. Let's help give them the tools to get people from point A to point B. So there are ways to be disrupted. There are ways to kind of come back around and make sure that you protect yourself. Okay, so this is the current inflation picture in the US. Who's worried about this? Who's had problems with this? Who spent a lot of money on gas over the last 12 months? Who spends a lot of money on eggs right now? Who knew that drug cartels are now importing eggs into the US? It's real. It's a real thing right now. And so we're on the downside. Right? We think inflation's peaked. And it's interesting to look at inflation. So you'll hear, the Fed talk about core inflation. So that's a 5.7 on the far side. They'll say, look, we're at 5.7% core inflation. We're doing good, but that doesn't include food or energy. Well, I don't know anyone that doesn't use food or energy, so it's kind of a weird number in my mind. But you look at what happened with food. Over the last 12 months, it's gone up 10.4%. Energy has gone up 7.3%. So we're in kind of an interesting spot with inflation. It's starting to come back down though. Now, when we'll say we're there, we don't know. So the Fed has a dual mandate. So that means that they want inflation to be at 2%. So that's the red line. We got a ways to go. We're still about 5% above that. But then their other job is to keep the US at full employment. And so right now they're trying to raise the unemployment rate while trying to reduce inflation. It's a really, really weird dichotomy right now because jobs, who here can hire anyone they want anytime they want for a fair wage? Anyone? Who's tried to hire someone in the last year? Who's paid a lot of money to hire people in the last year? It's hard. It is really hard. And so right now, the Fed's trying to raise the unemployment rate a bit. We're at about 3.5% nationally. They don't have a set number there. That's more of when they feel like they're at full unemployment or full employment, but they do want inflation down. So what this means is that they're taking a baseball bat to the economy with interest rates. That's the best way I can describe it. And so it's starting to work. We'll see some more numbers here in a minute, but that's kind of the interesting spot that we're in with the economy. We haven't seen inflation like this since the 70s and 80s. And I don't think they'll stop till they get inflation down or very near to where they want it as far as interest rates go. There's a stigma at the Fed. So I know a guy who was at a Fed meeting a couple months ago, and he said that the stigma at the Fed is, if you're on the Fed board or you're president of the Fed and you cause a recession, no one really cares. It's not a black mark against you. But if you're there and you're responsible for inflation, that's a black mark. So they will do whatever they have to do to get out of that. So there's a pride element to it, but also an economic element to it. So that's what we're seeing happen. So if we look at unemployment, that spike is at the beginning of COVID. And then you can see how it's just come down to about 3.5%. The other side is payroll and wages. So you can see how at the beginning, wages spiked. and how they've just had this steady climb back up. So there are less people to hire and they're more expensive. Now, on the far right, that is labor force participation rate. So what that shows is that going back to 2013, there are fewer and fewer people participating in the labor force. So if you look at that, the wages and why they're climbing, you know, there's unemployment, but there's less people in the workforce. There's just fewer people out there, fewer people wanting to work. And, you know, there's all sorts of reasons for that. You know, there are a lot of baby boomers retiring. There are a lot of people looking for different types of work. You got millennials and Gen Z who work differently. I'm not going to say that it's wrong. I don't think it is. I think it's just different. But that's putting a lot of pressure on wages. But if you look at Utah and Nevada, Utah's at 2.2% unemployment. Nevada is at 4.9% unemployment. So pretty low rates. So it's putting a lot of pressure on people trying to get work done, people trying to hire. I do think there's a silver lining to this. I'll get to that in a little bit. But you know, as far as hitting unemployment, tech industry layoffs have started. Google was last week, Microsoft's done them, LinkedIn's done them, Spotify. So it's kind of across the entire tech sector right now. So about 70,000 employees. Now, last month there were 223,000 job openings in the US. So we're not, it's not canceling out the job openings yet, or the hirings yet. But there are a lot more people getting laid off at the tech companies. Part of this is just due to the fact that they hired so quickly during COVID. Some of it, it's right sizing from that. But, you know, as we look at, you know, the economy and what kind of markets are ripe for disruption. So it's companies that are slow, or industries that are, that have very non-existent innovation, don't change much. You have unhappy and restless customers who do want to change. When a change is available, they take it. There's a noticeable lack of tech adoption. It's expensive. Entrenched solutions, those are just the norm. That's just how they work. And it's a close-knit cottage industry. It's not easy for people to get in and innovate or disrupt. So when something does come in, people jump. So you look at all these, look at Airbnb, Peloton, Google, Uber, Netflix. They were all disruptors at one point. Now the irony is that now they're starting to get disrupted too. Who's used OpenAI? Chat GPT.
Yeah.
That's throwing this all for a loop. Google has no idea what to do about that. Amazon is worried, and Microsoft is saying we're going to put $10 billion into OpenAI to go compete with Google and Amazon. So the disruptors are now about to get disrupted again. So it's kind of an interesting cycle to see. Now, when you look at tech, culture is king. Who's heard this, the saying that culture eats strategy for breakfast? Yeah, the best strategy in the world, but if you don't have the right culture to go along with it, it doesn't work. So this is an example. This is one of the venture companies we invested in. This is a company called Busy. They're down in St. George in southern Utah. And we invested in them back in 2015. And the reason was because we saw that we had a lot of customers going out of business. A lot of contractors would start and go out of business within about 7 years, was the average. And as we looked into that, what the problem was, the root of the problem is that they knew how to do the work. They knew how to dig a trench, lay pipe, pave, pour concrete. They didn't know how to manage the business. They didn't understand their books. They didn't understand their costs. As a result, they went out of business. And so we partnered with Busy to focus on the most expensive part of their business, which is people. So when you look at an excavator, a cat excavator, you will pay about 3 times the cost of that excavator to the people who operate it over the life of that machine. That is your single most expensive asset. So we said, let's go tackle that. And so one of the easiest places to start is on timekeeping. So what Busy does is it's basically you clock in and out on your phone. It's geofenced, geostamped. You can upload photos to your projects. This is just off their website. You got time cards with signatures, mobile reporting, labor budgets, safety sign-offs, all this stuff. Pretty cool solution. Who can guess what their number one competitor is? It's a paper time card. That's their number one competitor. And what we found is that the main reason why companies don't adopt this is pushback from the employees saying, we don't want this. We don't want tech. And the owner's saying, okay, we won't do it. But what happens when Busy's customers do that, they see on average a 67% savings in a lot of cases, because they're paying people for what they actually work. They're saving costs, they're saving workman's costs, because they can say, well, this person was in a trench for 2 hours and they were out of the trench for 10. So they're only going to pay that rate for 2 hours instead of the full 12 hours. They're all sorts of cost savings, but it's a cultural aspect that allows it to work or not work. So the people who are okay with the paper time card, they're going to pay a whole lot more to their people than those who are willing to adopt and adapt. There's a saying from J.K. Wheeler, the founder of Wheeler Machinery, that you can't do today's work with yesterday's equipment. You have to adapt. So it's the same in your world. That was almost a picture of my great-grandpa. I tried to find one. He was a surveyor years and years ago. He worked on the Verde Double Bridge. He worked up in Jackson Hole. And it's kind of interesting to think about what the tools he used. You know, my grandpa grew up in these logging camps all across the West. That's where he'd spend his summers while his dad was out surveying. You compare that to the technology today and the advancements that we have. And if people didn't adapt, you know, how much harder would it be? Well, they wouldn't even be in business. So you look at some of the advancements, and Mike will tell you more about this. I'll just show you this real quick. In surveying and scanning. And you think about where we've come. You know, what did we do 10 years ago? What did we do 5 years ago versus what
Extend your autonomous mapping reach with Emesent's latest LIDAR scanning solution, Hovermap STX. Hovermap STX takes SLAM-based LIDAR mapping to new heights and enables autonomous mapping of large assets and complex, challenging terrains. Using Emesent's advanced autonomy, Hovermap STX allows you to operate from a safe location while flying and mapping in challenging GPS-denied environments. Fly autonomously beyond visual line of sight and communication range to capture detailed 3D data for valuable new insights.
Yeah, I'll stop there. Mike's going to tell you more about it, but one of the kind of trends that we see in technology is the ability to basically be a force multiplier of people. Right now, the biggest challenge is getting people and skilled people at that. So how do we make them more valuable? How do we multiply what they can do?
Incorporating the
Let's see. Okay.
Do another video.
Just on the next slide, but okay.
It's like we're in YouTube.
Yeah, pulled it from YouTube. Here, hit escape. Okay, all right. Got back into this. Okay, so as we look at these cost increases, as we look at labor shortages, as we look at inflation, the next question is, okay, is there a recession coming in? And so when? And what does it look like? The Fed's talking about what they call a soft landing, where they can get the economy back to where it needs to without sparking a recession, or at least a big recession. Right now, the estimates are that a recession will probably come in Q4 this year, you know, based on just the yield curve and a lot of the data out there. Now, if it does come, what does it look like? I personally don't think it'd be a widespread recession. I don't think it'd be anything like 2008, 2009. I think it may hit certain segments of the market. I think we're in a pretty good spot overall. And there's some reasons for that. So recently, Congress passed the infrastructure bill and the CHIPS Act. And the infrastructure bill alone, there's just under $4 billion allocated to Utah just over 4 billion allocated to Nevada. So there's a lot of work out there in just heavy civil infrastructure. That's rebuilding bridges, roads, public transportation, there's EV charging, broadband, water, airports, stuff that is core to what you do. And that's, you know, there's no time limit on when that money can be spent. Now, part of the benefit that we have that comes from some of the lack of labor that we've had is that there's a lot of work that hasn't been done over the last couple of years just because we don't have people to do it. So there is a backlog of construction work out there. Right now, the estimate for the Western US is that there's about 7.2 months of backlog right now. Across the country, it's 9.2. That's a pretty healthy number. So that's why I say if there is a recession, I think that we'll be in a good spot because there's still all this work that has to come. The funding is there regardless of a recession or not. It's there, it's allocated, it's ready to be spent. Hasn't even started to be spent yet, but there is a backlog of work even without the infrastructure bill and the CHIPS Act. On the mining side, it's a really good story with the CHIPS Act because, you know, the whole focus of that is on growing our microchip manufacturing capabilities here in the US. So when you look at gold, when you look at copper, when you look at critical minerals that Utah and Nevada have a whole lot of, that's going to play a large role in the CHIPS Act. And so that's a really good sign for mining here for the foreseeable future. Manufacturing is starting to slow down. You can see the blue line is manufacturing production. So you see where it spiked and it started to come down. Part of that is related to backlogs. Manufacturers are starting to catch up on their backlogs, which is a good thing. Supply chain is easing a bit. It's not out of the woods yet, but there's still some room to go, but it is improving. So, like I said, the question with technology is how we do more with less. How do we do more work with less people? How do we handle cost increases? How do we maximize our skilled labor? Again, here's a chart on labor force participation and wages. It's a challenge. It's not going away. So you look at who's heard of Boston Dynamics. Trimble works with them a whole lot. There are different ways to get labor. Does it have to be a person that does it? So one of the things that you'll see as tech advances is, you know, you need people doing the most skilled work. So when people say robots are going for the jobs, you know, it's not quite accurate. The low skilled labor is going to be done with AI, with machine learning, with robots. The skilled labor, that's still going to be done by people. But this is Boston Dynamics' most recent robot.
I forgot my tools again. Such a show off.
So the question is, do you need a person, let's say a salaried or waged employee to carry the tools to you? No, you just need the tools there.
Just need to realize
Okay. Let's see. Okay, this one, and Mike will tell you more about this one as well. This one is TinyMobileRobot. Now, the story I really like on this one, on the left, is a picture from one of our customers who had this on I-15 down in southern Utah. So that robot on the left got hit by a drunk driver. And so if that had been a person out on the freeway that got hit, that'd be a fatality. Yeah, that's money very well spent. Well, I'll let Mike give you the details on TMR. But, this is another one where it's a relatively simple task. Do you need a person to do it? Probably not. Probably not. You're probably money ahead by using this. Let's see. Okay, here's one. It's another company we're tied into.
Data retrieval start. 42%. 57%. 94%. Transmission successful. Streaming now. This software module extends the power of PIC1 for applications involving picking cases, cartons, trays, and bags from mixed, random, and homogeneous SKU pallets. Depalletizing cycle start. Layer by layer. Picking initiated. The PIC1 software analyzes the 2D, 3D, and AI data to identify each pickable item on scene and assigns each one an associated confidence level. If no items on scene has a qualified confidence level, PIC1 generates a yonder request for a crew chief to handle the exception by select.
Sorry. Okay. So that one, it's a company called Plus One Robotics. And again, it's just sorting, picking, and loading. And, it's not a skilled task. So, if you can have that take the place of 2 or 3 people in your warehouse, you allocate the people that, to the more skilled tasks. Okay, so let's talk housing real quick. So you can see here, housing starts on single family for Utah, Nevada. They started to come down. And a lot of that has to do with the interest rates, the baseball bat to the economy. At the same time, you can see the 30-year mortgage rate going up. So naturally, they're going to slow down. I don't think that's a bad thing in my mind. Right here in the orange and green, you can see the price increases in Utah, Nevada on housing. And it is significant. It's gotten to the point where it's pretty unaffordable. And there's still a lot of demand out there. So I don't know that it's really a bad thing. That top graph, it's a little small, but that's housing starts. So the red is multifamily. Multifamily stayed fairly steady. Single families come down, but it's kind of planed out. So we're not in a free fall in the housing market. And the builder confidence is actually pretty decent. It dropped significantly and it's starting to rebound. So even right now, going into January, from December to January, there's been a noticeable shift in optimism. So I think there's still room to go up in the housing market in terms of stability. I think prices will continue to come down due to interest rates, which is the Fed's intent. But I think we'll be okay. But when you look at the economics of it, you look at lumber and iron ore. You look at the spike lumber had, it was over $1,500 1,000 board feet. Now we're back down to under 500. That's what we need to have happen. We need the economics to come back in line. When you look at the cost components of highway and street construction, look what happened there. Those went way up. So again, and those are materials, those aren't labor. So you couple that with labor, it gets really expensive. So we've seen inflation in construction as well. So when you look at that and you say, well, what if you take some of those material components out? Do you have to build with lumber, or can you build off-site? So one thing we've seen increasingly is modular construction. And there's a lot of benefit to it. You build a hotel room off-site, then you transport the completed room to the site and you just crane it into place. Can you get it built faster? Can you get more consistency in the product? This project, they saw 4 months on the schedule saving, about $4 million savings overall on the project versus a traditional build. So we will see more of that. So last slide I have is, again, goes back to the question of, do you need to build with the traditional way? Do you need people? Do you need lumber? Do you need the traditional materials? This is a company we invested in down in Texas called Icon Build. That is 3D printing houses. This is one that they did down in Austin last year as a showpiece. They're working with Lennar right now on a 100 home build. Pretty cool to see. This took about 2 weeks to print. And that's with rain delays. Okay, so 6 people, 2 weeks to print that. So the world's changing. Some really cool stuff coming. A lot of it is born out of necessity. The current environment that we're in is driving a lot of the necessity out there. So my challenge to all of you would be to look for opportunities to innovate. Look for ways to stay ahead of the curve. Be like an Amazon. Don't be a Sears. Don't sit back and say we've always done it this way and we'll continue to do it that way. If you do, you get past. And you're on the outside looking in. It doesn't have to be fast. It doesn't have to be everything all at once. But the most important thing from a technology adoption standpoint is culture. You got to be open to it. You got to be willing to ask questions. You got to be willing to adapt and change. But if you do, you'll be in a good spot. So that's all I have.